Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness the perfect crime.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Commodore.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
Oh.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West.
Right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
And he fixes every glitch. Good morning. Boy, did you miss a heck of a show. I'm going to go ahead and get straight to the point. Well, I clicked go live, but it didn't go live. I didn't notice that for a while. 3 concurrent viewers, good morning. Thank you for your patience. Technical difficulties, I believe, have been solved. Let me get to the point. Not only is this video fake, and I want you to watch this video because you will notice him carefully tiptoe around the blood. You'll notice him step on the mat, which has blood. You will notice him dick around with the camera. What's he trying to do? What's he trying to do? What's he trying to do? This is the perfect crime. Cops, FBI, internet are stumped, they say. No clue who he is or what happened to the body. This is the perfect crime. You're going to shoot your balls off. Now, let's see, okay? Don't forget, okay, we'll come back to her in a minute. Here we go. Now, the only source, the provenance, if you will, of that video is Kash Patel. Those of you who are new to the podcast, I died 12 years ago. I am now in heaven. And by heaven, I mean I am living in the Rick and Morty universe. Donald Trump has been elected president on 2 different occasions. I started this podcast to debunk crazy conspiracy theories like Manson and Son of Sam were CIA operations. I ended up on TV. By the way, there was no Zodiac Killer either. By the way, those Zodiac Killer letters were a hoax. Not a prank. Something much more serious than that. If you read the actual files, which have become available, all the original police reports, FBI, the fingerprints, if you look at the autopsy photos, the actual evidence tells a totally different story about the so-called Zodiac Killer murders. And one thing they prove is that those letters were a hoax. As a matter of fact, the letter writer was very careful to always make sure he could prove the letters were a hoax in case he got caught. The purpose of the letters was to change the narrative. This book debunks Gray Smith's hoax, and then it explains the basically page by page, and then using the exact same material that he had in his hands, I show you what actually happened in each murder and who actually wrote the letters. Then there's the series that's on Peacock, same title, but they go beyond the book. They read the book, they're like, wow. So then they did some further investigating, and that's a really good documentary. I'm so proud to be on the Andrew Knock and NBC Universal. Full disclosure, NBC Universal did me a major, and I got a very nice little deal out of it. Full disclosure. Full disclosure. They've treated me like a star. They have. Full disclosure. But I got to call a spade a spade. And my contract is up with them. So thank you, NBC Universal. Thank you very much. But the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth is the truth. The Zodiac Killer letters were a hoax intended, and they were extortion letters, were intended to change the narrative, and they succeeded. There was no Zodiac Killer. The case is far more bizarre and insidious and disturbing than you could possibly imagine. So read the book, watch the documentary miniseries. I couldn't be more pleased with it. I could not be more pleased with that documentary. And it was really cool. They got people to talk that I couldn't get to talk. It was awesome. And they treated me like a star. And Drew Hurst Beeson, he needs to do 10 more documentaries. I have some behind the scenes videos I can show you guys now. Well, you know, paying members. It's all about the money. Thank you for your support. The Son of Sam letters were a hoax intended to change the narrative. The phony kidnap ransom note novel left at the John Bonet murder scene was intended to change the narrative. What we have been told in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie has been intended to change the narrative. The narrative that came out was that Savannah Guthrie, the golden child at NBC Universal, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough, the golden child. The only reason they had enough money to put my thing on Peacock was because of her. Let's face it. She's pretty much all they got left, right? Broadcast TV is finished. She's it. Today Show, parades, game shows. When her voice started going downhill, the earth trembled. The earth trembled. But she's also the world's greatest criminal defense attorney. Just ask her. Oh my God. She graduated tops in her class, tops in this, tops in that. Georgetown University Law School. Placed first in her pool of bar exam passers. What do you call them? Not graduates. Licensed to practice law in Arizona and Washington, D.C. Married to the guy who invented crisis management for the Clintons. Managed the Paula Stone crisis. Managed the Monica Lewinsky crisis. Well, he did a bang-up job there. Fronted that whole operation when Al Gore claimed that George Bush stole the 2000 election. Remember when the Democrats claimed that Trump tried to steal the 2020 election? Guess who made that claim? When Hunter Biden left his laptop at some computer repair shop and some birdies flew out of the bag? Metaphorically speaking, remember that? Remember who led the whole, that was a hoax generated by the Russians in collusion with Trump. Remember who pushed that longer than anybody? She's like this with Mark Kelly. They went to high school together, right? Senator Mark Kelly. Arch nemesis of Donald Trump, and God bless him. Arch nemesis of Kash Patel. This shit's personal. This is frat boy shit that goes on between, not that they don't both deserve it. I'm not defending anybody. I'm not persecuting anybody. But the truth matters. And being lied to matters. So let's take a look at what we know. The provenance of that video, which looks fake as my nose, the provenance is Kash Patel. Why would he do these people a favor? Well, we've seen a couple of what was the name of that show? Not My Hidden Camera. What was it called? Candid Camera. We've seen some candid camera footage of Kash Patel abusing taxpayer toys already, right? Imagine how many other videos he's got on that guy. If he drinks half as much as he pretends to drink. Have you ever seen Hillary Clinton drink a Boilermaker? You saw Barack Obama try to drink a beer that time. You saw that. Have you ever seen Hillary Clinton drink a Boilermaker? She only does it in union halls. She'll sit there and pound a Boilermaker. Do not underestimate that broad. She's not done yet. She's looking at Trump going, is she younger than him? They're all getting so old. My point is this. Why would Kash Patel do them a solid? Well, I think it's pretty obvious why. Because he didn't say, all he said was, I got this from Google. Google said no comment. But there are a couple of holes in this story. The sheriff, who's a Democrat, whose life hangs by a thread, right? Who needs all the help from Mark Kelly and Nancy Guthrie's husband he can get. Savannah Guthrie and her husband Feldman, they are the crisis management. She's the biggest voice on TV, the prettiest face on TV. Hi, Alpine. Hi, Toad. Hi, everybody. Biggest star on TV is married to the guy who does all the crisis management. How many? Bill Clinton, Lolita Express 26 times. Pictures of him in the hot tub with Jelaine. I know what you're thinking. It's pronounced Ghislaine. What you need to be thinking is the tubes have ears. Sitting in the hot tub with Ghislaine. Getting back rubs on Lolita Island Airport. Who kept a lid on that all those years? Savannah's husband. And Savannah. When we go members only, I'm really going to tear into that broad. Whether she deserves it or not. Maybe she doesn't deserve any of this, but I'm going to show you what she deserves exactly. One more time. NBC Universal, thank you very much. Mwah. What does all of this have to do with Alec Baldwin? You know nothing about Alec Baldwin. Nothing. What does this have to do with an internet dickhead named Jason Goodman? Get plugged into the Stones Unturned podcast. If you thought the Sunrise sermonettes were going to be a little less crazy, I started this podcast 8 years ago. I thought I'll establish my credibility by debunking some of these really crazy conspiracy theories like Manson and the CIA. And then this guy named Tom O'Neill comes out with this book, Chaos. And by the way, he was able to get the files in the Manson family murders. And guess what? The actual files, and this is the same thing, Son of Sam, these have been released on the internet finally. In all of those cases, the actual files, the actual evidence, tell a completely different story from the myth. I'm going to pull the curtain back on some... Oh, no, okay. It's too early in the morning. While researching an episode of this podcast that I was planning on the Nugan Bank and the CIA... And by the way, Savannah's father was a major mining company executive who was part of that whole Gough Whitlam soft coup thing. If that means anything to you, because the Nugan Bank was like the headquarters of that movement. If that means anything to you. I will show you more in the members only. So if you want to know your family's true history, Savannah, you're going to have to cough up to $10. I know you got $10 extra because I know you haven't been paying for your Mom's Nest subscription. That's $10 a month. But I'll say this, a subscription to Google Nest is probably worth more than this podcast. Because it would have cracked this case for us. For want of a nail, you would think that one of the nation's brightest rising star criminal defense attorneys, and I'm talking Enron, I am talking Leon Black, very close friend and business associate of Jeffrey and Ghislaine. It's not the only connection either. Forget all that for now. For now, got this book, Hospital Security and Safety by Arthur Michael Pascal, whose name comes up in The Son of Sam in the craziest conspiracy theory of them all. Makes Manson look like a Disney movie. It was all true. And there was only one explanation for it. There's a machine out there that generates satanic panics, UFO panics, hippie panics, cult panics, to cover up for actual murders, to cover up the motives of actual murders that look like they're not connected. In the Zodiac murders, it's not the kids who were, remember, they're all kids. One graduate student. It's not the kids who are connected, it's their parents. And they're connected in a very specific way. That actually connects directly to Savannah Guthrie's father. Like very specifically. So specifically it isn't funny. Get plugged in. I'm saying that Nancy Guthrie died of natural causes. But when the media coverage started going against Savannah for like, what do you mean the Nest subscription expired? What do you mean you didn't have nanny cams? What do you mean you didn't know? It was really negative. And this was before they announced she was going to get this game show. As a matter of fact, she hadn't come back. She'd only been back on the show a couple of days from her vocal cord surgery when this happened, and she had taken another 2 months off. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that every cloud has a silver lining. Because her image problem's been cleaned up by this kidnapping hoax, and her voice has fully recovered. So now she gets the game show. You know, Savannah would understand what I've been through. It took 12 years to get this on TV. Savannah would understand what it takes to get on TV. She's one of the top talented criminal defense attorneys in the country. And I ain't nothing to sneeze at neither. Who would win between her, a cage match, a legal debate, verbal cage match, no whistles, no refs, no rules, between Savannah and Hillary? I'm telling you, I'm going to keep telling you, women are underestimated in all fields of endeavor. Women and men routinely underestimate women as business leaders, as adventurers, as explorers, as criminal masterminds. It wasn't Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was the Charles Manson of the Griselda Blanco gang. Okay? Get plugged in. You need to know all this stuff. We're watching it. So for 8 years, I have been eating my own crow, having to sit here and prove umpteen different ways that these crazy conspiracy theories are not only true, in some ways they're more bizarre, because there is this machine out there that manages crises, and their main weapon is to create media hoaxes. And there's a real method to this madness, and we've spent 8 years documenting and proving this. Don't let the good looks fool you, honey. There's a little something going on up here. Well, on the Today Show, February 24th, the sheriff told the Today Show that the videos and still frames that you see out there had no timestamps or metadata. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's been accused of being the worst, most incompetent, crookedest, dumbest sheriff in the land. Well, he exonerated Savannah's brother. Can't have it both ways, Savannah. You can't say that Kash Patel is the biggest liar in the world and then believe anything he tells you just because it fits the narrative that you need told in order for you to get your game show. Because if you didn't change the narrative on this case of your mother, you weren't getting the game show. You have a motive to change the narrative, and there's nobody on television who's better at it than you are. Not just your skills on TV, you are. She graduated magna cum laude, Georgetown University Law School, while working full time. She scored number 1 in her pool of the bar exam. She worked at Aiken Gump. She was a litigator at Aiken Gump. She sat at the counsel table for Aiken Gump. She's been tight-lipped about who she represented. Well, that's exactly right, Toad. Now, I'm going to show you how this could have been done. But I want to point this out. The only source of information that this was supposedly a kidnapping is Savannah Guthrie. Doors were propped open at missing mother's Arizona home, Savannah Guthrie recounts in this March 26th interview. She says that they found, I'm going to read this article in the members only. I'm going to tear this apart. She's so good at cross-examining people. Oh, you saw the way she cross-examined Trump. Playing her game on her court with her ball, with her rules. I don't think he did too bad. That's bad. Now, this goes all the way back to February 3rd. Signs of forced entry found. This is after the blowback is coming, that people are saying Savannah's family must be very neglectful. How selfish can you get? Didn't pay the $10 a month for a Nest subscription? That was the blowback. I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody yet. Investigators found signs of forced entry at the Arizona home of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. A person familiar with the investigation said, well, who else could that be but Savannah? Because here's the thing. Savannah flew home. She visited the scene. If she revealed something the police told her, she'd be breaking the law. If she revealed something she saw with her own eyes, she wouldn't be breaking the law. Anybody who leaked this is breaking the law, unless they were there. And she was there. Here's the problem. That door doesn't show any signs of being broken into, let alone being fingerprinted. And the cameras in the backyard were working. They weren't internet connected. They had pictures of things going on, still frames of activities in the backyard before the disappearance, and they had still frames of activities starting the next day when the cops show up and taking pictures of the cops. So if he went in through the back door, it must have been by magic. And as you could see in that video, what did he break in with? What did he use to pry the door open with? A 12-inch pianist. Because watch. What's he got in that backpack he's going to pry open a door with? And the source of that claim that it was broken into is Savannah, who has a reason to change the narrative. The second thing that changed the narrative was this phony baloney ransom note that TMZ said they got. This is important. The video was not released until February 10th, with all the metadata stripped away from it. I'll explain that before we go members only. This was the theory. Now the rest of these blood drops, I haven't got them to scale yet, but this is where she coughed up blood. There are a lot of blood drops here, and then it straightens out and comes down this way. So the original theory was she was coming, and she answered the doorbell, came to the door, the guy gave her a roundhouse kick to the chest, and/or put a pill in the back of her skull, and she coughed up blood, and he dragged her down the sidewalk and kidnapped her. I don't know why. If this happens, why would you take her with you? Why would you kidnap an 84-year-old woman who's coughing up blood? You just cut your losses and go next door. This is what supposedly happened. That is not the only explanation for what happened. Here's another explanation for what happened. So what we're seeing here, now this frame on the right was a still frame supposedly recovered by Google searching for metadata that matched the 1:47 a.m. or in the approximate time around 1:47 a.m. February 1st at that DNS address, whatever it's called, that IP address for that camera. Supposedly they found that frame. I'll come back to this explanation in a minute. So what you're seeing, see that arch in the background? This is the front of the house. You can see in the middle left of the front of the house, there's this arched doorway where that cop is standing with his thumb up his ass. I don't think that's fair. When we go members only, I'm gonna tear this whole kidnap hoax thing apart with her own words. So looking at it from the outside, we zoom in. So a local TV news thing went out, News Nation went out there, and the place was unguarded. There's an Amazon package laying there. The police never picked up the doormat, took it into the lab. But you can see this trail of blood drops. Drop, 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 drop. So it looks like she starts coughing up blood here and somebody's dragging her faster and faster and faster. The problem is these drops are straight down. There's no forward motion in any direction. I claim she started dribbling blood here, got close to the door, collapsed, and coughed up blood. Her face had to be within an inch or two of that pavement in order to make the spray pattern that's left. Well, let me tell you something about this video. As I've already proven, this video was made several hours after that blood was left on this blood here. Do you see this over here? Do you see that shoe tread mark in fresh blood? And this dried blood was not disturbed. Given the atmospheric conditions known to be extant, AI calculates that if he stepped on, see, you can see the little hollow spaces in this doormat, okay? And you see him step on the doormat in the video. Let me show you that. In case you're new to this podcast, the rest of you bear with us. Watch what he does here. Try not to laugh. Ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, boom. Ba-doom, ba-doom, boom. Yeah, see him stepping on the doormat. I'm sorry. I was too busy being clever and cute. See, he's standing on the doormat. His left foot is standing on the doormat. If there's any blood pooled in those little crevices, he could have squished some up onto his shoe, and it would be sticky. The pudding skin on top of that blood, if it was several hours old. AI tells me 24 hours is possible, but not as likely as 3 to 4 hours. But 24 hours is possible. The house was unguarded the next night. But I'm going to show you something. I can prove that that blood was left by this guy in this video. Watch. His left foot is standing on the mat a couple of times. Okay? He turns to step off the mat. See, his foot was on the mat. Now his foot has turned. Now he has stepped off the mat. Okay, let me show you the freeze frames. See that? That's when he left that bloody track, because he had stepped in some blood that hadn't completely dried yet, trapped in the grooves of this rubber mat, or rubber fiber mat, whatever, synthetic fiber mat. You can buy them at Walmart right now. See? And it happens to match the tread of this shoe. You can see his shoe. Well, where's his shoe? See that? That's this brand right here, Merrill Nova 3 or 2, Model 2 or 3. This is the tread pattern, and AI tells me it's a perfect match. The blank spaces are the nubs of the tread. The bloody spaces are the hollow spaces between the tread. AI tells me it's a perfect match for this shoe. You take that for whatever it's worth. But it was left at that time, and that time was several hours after she originally coughed up blood. Maybe 24 hours. Doesn't have to be. I'll show you why. Because here's the corroborating evidence. The glare of that camera, you can't see. The terracotta tiles are pink because of iron oxide. The terracotta bricks are pink because of iron oxide. Blood is red and pink because of iron oxide. In infrared light, they are the exact same color, the exact same shade of gray. That's why they're invisible. But when his body blocks out most of the light and changes the contrast, look, there it is. The blood was already there when he came back several hours later and faked this video. And I'm claiming there's even debris from those flowers he hasn't picked yet that's already lying there. That's what I'm claiming. That maybe. So we know this was several hours later, but we don't know several hours later than what. But if the assumption is correct, that this video was recorded right before he yanked the camera off the wall and disconnected it from the power. If that's correct, then the coughing up blood happened 4 hours earlier, and that's the time that the son-in-law, the science teacher, said he dropped her off in the driveway, and she went in through the garage door. The sheriff did confirm that the separate company, the garage door maker, said that their system logged the garage door opening at 9:48 and closing at 9:50, but it didn't have any video or pictures of her going in or out. How did she end up on the front porch? If this guy faking this video knew he was being recorded, why did he come back 3 or 4 hours later? Why did he go to Walmart and buy a backpack and a gun to shoot his balls off with if he knew he was being recorded? If he knew he was being recorded, what was the purpose of coming back? Now, if he didn't know he was being recorded, why is he wearing a ski mask and avoiding the camera and tiptoeing over the blood drops? And why did he leave and go get a backpack and come back and make a big show if he didn't know he was being recorded? But if he thought he was being recorded, why would he come back 3 or 4 hours later? Here's how that system actually works. Once you create your Nest subscription and connect your camera to it, it automatically records over internet video clips. If you don't pay for a subscription, if you don't have a currently paid subscription, it will automatically delete those clips after 3 hours. Not instantly. It's after 3 hours. Read the documentation and terms and conditions. I've been waiting for someone to do that. But hey, that's not what you're here for. You have 3 hours to download the clip. Did he shoot this first fake video, go home, log into the Nest account, and try to verify the thing or whatever, and if it didn't record the video? Did he go home and realize he had not been recorded? And he Googled it, and he found out that he would have had 3 hours to download it? And did he then get a bright idea and go to Walmart and buy a backpack and a phony gun or a real gun to shoot his balls off with and some gloves? If that's what it looks like, a Glock or a Beretta 380, it's got like a hair trigger, right? If he's wearing those gloves and he's in a quick draw situation, that's why he's got his gun up here in a gunslinger position. If he's going for a quick draw, he's going to shoot his balls off. That's all he's going to accomplish, is shooting his own balls off. When I first saw the video, I thought it was blood that had been sprayed from an idiot shooting his balls off. But it turned out that they did DNA tests and it instantly came back Nancy Guthrie, which they do have quick tests now. In the members only, I'll show you how she died. I got that cracked. Why would he do that? But a hoaxer who had access to the system and who knew he could download that video, remove, on the advice of counsel, remove the metadata and then email it to Kash Patel, and you that would explain it. But why would he go back and make a phony video? He must be trying to fake a kidnapping that never happened. This is interesting right here. Should I make you 8 members? No. I did you around. You came back. I'll show you publicly. She did. Remember I said she didn't have an Apple Watch? She did have an Apple Watch. She had an Apple Watch. And it killed her. I'll show you how in the members only. She had an Apple Watch. And supposedly, Savannah's brother verified that it was an authentic ransom note because, according to Savannah, it mentioned details that the kidnapper would know. For example, the placement of the Apple Watch. She had an Apple Watch. And that Apple Watch killed her. I'll show you. It wasn't murder. It wasn't kidnapping. It was an accident. Why would they try to fake a kidnapping? Because it didn't look too hot that they left her alone with no nanny cam or anything. So they had to change the narrative. And the one who's been changing the narrative every single day has been Savannah, on the record and off the record. Who else could have possibly leaked that information? Legally, who could have leaked it? Only she could have leaked it legally. All the profilers think that the motive was personal, not financial. The brother, Cameron, the Air Force intelligence officer and former fighter pilot, okay, let's go members only. There's one more thing I can tell you. Well, he had 3 hours to download that video, and then under the direct... Mark Kelly is an expert on cybersecurity. Did you know that? Savannah's brother is an expert on cybersecurity. They would know how to scrub the metadata thoroughly from a video clip, because Google couldn't have found the video clip without the metadata. The metadata would be the only thing that they could have used to find that video clip, let alone find it intact after 10 days. But anybody with access to that subscription and access to Google's documentation would have known they could go back, fake another video, and they would have 3 hours to download the video and then ask for help on how to scrub the metadata. When we go, is that it? That's it. I'll show you guys how that watch killed her. Yeah, the idea that that still frame was taken on a separate day, a source told CNN. In an interview with the Today Show, Nano said the images do not include any dates or timestamps. So that source, that's a false rumor. That's somebody telling a lie. That's a lie. A source. Well, the only source we know that had that kind of information who could legally leak it to the media was Savannah. Or her brother. Well, I'm going to go through that interview with the fine-tooth comb, okay? Let's just do that right now. Or let's get that started right now. Is this not going to work? I'm not getting the thing to switch to members only live stream. It's okay. I'll at least show you guys how she died. Maybe I need to expand this. Hi, Kevin. Maybe they put it back in beta for a minute. It was like a beta. They just came out with this feature. Okay, whatever. I'll just go ahead and show everybody how she died. You ready for this? She had an Apple Watch. According to the brother who verified that the ransom note sent to TMZ is real, and therefore this is a kidnapping, according to that, she had an Apple Watch. If that's true, then this is what happened. There it is. Okay, you see that handrail? She started to go up the steps, and she reached up to pull herself up the rail, and she stumbled, and she fell against the rail, and her Apple Watch got within a couple of inches of her pacemaker right here. Can you see anything? No. I have to hold it up here anyway. Okay? She had her hand on the rail up here. And then she stumbled and fell against it. And this brought her Apple Watch within a couple of inches of her pacemaker. Her pacemaker has a wireless charger, just like her Apple Watch. And when the magnet from the Apple Watch got too close to her pacemaker, microwaves can cause this too, right? When her Apple Watch got too close to her pacemaker, it caused pacemaker syndrome. The pacemaker will go, when it's charging, it goes into bang, 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 110 beats a minute. Bang, 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 bang. And it causes, and the problem is, the heart is supposed to, squeeze in sequence to pump the blood. It goes like this. It basically causes a heart attack. And under this condition, taking all those blood thinners and NSAIDs, her blood was very thin. It would cause blood to pool in her lungs and would cause her to cough up blood. She came home. She stumbled. She reached up to grab the rail. She fell against it like this. This brought the Apple Watch next to her pacemaker, and her pacemaker went into charging mode, and that caused her heart to fail. And that caused her... She's starting to stumble up the sidewalk. She wouldn't feel it right away. And by the time she got to the porch, this is what's happening. Then she falls. That's what happened. And they were afraid they'd be, the you-know-who in law thought he'd be blamed for negligence. So they decide, and then the news coverage turns against Savannah. So guess what? They have to come up with something. The evidence we have been shown is this staged video. The video was staged several hours after she coughed up the blood. That came from Kash Patel. It came with no metadata attached. The sheriff got it from Kash. Kash turned it over with no metadata attached to it. You take that for what it's worth. We'll talk about the relationships between these people. They know each other very personally. Whoa, boy. And these bullshit claims that the house showed signs of forced entry, those all come from Savannah. It all comes from Savannah and maybe her brother, one thing. And the thing that proves this was a kidnapping proves it was not a kidnapping. Her Apple Watch triggered her pacemaker syndrome, which happens. And that's not a kidnapping. Maybe the kidnapper was wrestling with her and pinned her down. Maybe she fell on her Apple Watch and couldn't get up. But that wouldn't explain why the blood goes all the way down the side, goes across the porch, but doesn't go down the sidewalk. But maybe. Are you with me? There are several scenarios where she falls and her Apple Watch triggers the thing, and her son-in-law might have blamed himself. But here's the thing. If there's no time or date metadata on that video clip and the house was left unguarded for several days, then he could have gone back the next night. AI says it's possible. Up to 24 hours, depending on the exact amount of blood, how tightly it was in there, how much of it was exposed to the air. It could have been 24 hours. On the advice of counsel. Can a sister-in-law be called to testify against a son-in-law? Against a brother-in-law? I'm Professor Thomas Henry Horan, asking you to please stay plugged in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
He reads everything.
You better bet your Bippies he reads everything. I'll probably come back on tonight and do the members only. How's that? Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. You have a great day. Take care of yourselves and each other. And keep watching the skis.